before I start, just one question. Mark, doesn't the background behind Kesra look exactly like Pioneer Square in Seattle? And Scott, doesn't it look exactly like Pioneer Square?
Yeah. Yeah, it looks a little nicer, I think, but
Yeah.
but
Believe it
right
or
now,
not, this,
but
believe it or
yeah.
not, this is downtown Detroit. This is like.
I know. I asked you this. You told me this is downtown Detroit, and
Yeah.
and it looks so similar. And it was and the street that goes kind of into the depth of the thing is where the Exchange building was, or still is, where the office was, and it looked exactly like this. It's just amazing. Anyway, sorry about that.
So I like to show it off as Detroit only because this used to be a really bad area, and they've really cleaned it up. They've really made it look good.
Yeah, they have. They've done a good job down there.
Yeah.
So, and I do want to apologize, Cello. I know I've been AWOL this for a long time. It's just been crazy.
Okay, Sarah, just to let you know, you built up so many good points that you'd have to like seriously start offending us or doing something like that to even get to neutral. Okay.
Thank you.
Just so you know. So anyway, what we're going to do today is just kind of run through what were our original goals for this program and what did we do this past year on these points. So our first goal was to have a framework that describes how value is created in an organization. And we came up with this really conceptual model that says that value is created when people interact within an organization to execute business processes that may be enabled by technology. So this also highlighted the key components of our framework: the processes, the people, the organization and organizational culture, and technology. So we have developed a framework like that and have been using it. The second thing was to provide a methodology for improvement that we also have managed to do, and it has these 6 steps. It's not radically different, which is good, from other things out there in the industry, which starts with assessing system maturity, analyzing as-is state, designing to be, planning improvements, implementing them, and then monitoring performance and impact. So we got a check mark, green check mark on that goal as well. And it's intended to be continuous improvement and going in cycles. The next program goal was to provide a platform for peer-to-peer collaboration. So we have the left side is pre-COVID, when we had in-person meetings that have been really well attended and very well regarded. By the way, Kesra and Patrick, this is Suzanne Coffey right here. Is that right, Scott?
Yeah, she should be sitting there.
Yeah,
Right there.
Yeah, she's right there.
Yeah.
But since then, in COVID, we've gone more to remote, and so these are just a playlist that we have on YouTube of all the meetings. We've got 25 recorded sessions on asset management plans, 30 on CIP, 50 on this subject, 20 on energy management, which was a newer initiative, on change management, all hands meeting webcasts that we've done for different audiences, all hands meetings, data analytics, and steering committee. So we've really been actively encouraging this peer-to-peer collaboration. And the last goal.
It was interesting to see that workflow organizational culture had the most.
Yeah,
50.
I think you're responsible partially for that.
It was all those core team meetings, Case.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if that having the most was good or bad, but it was just interesting.
Yeah. And then develop, grow, and strengthen peer-to-peer network. We have, through the years, gained some utilities have stayed with us the whole time. A couple things changed, but we've maintained momentum. This year one, we had 18 utilities actively participating. So in this year one, we had 6 initiatives, and our approach in that first year was to really start defining the structure and the tools for these different things, such as we had team people that looked at workforce and organizational culture. We had 3 teams that worked on process improvement, the CIP team, asset management, energy management. We had 1 team that looked at technology improvement, and it was technology and data analytics, and 1 team that looked into change management. And the one thing they have all in common is that they were all led by utility people, and the program team, Mike Barnett, Scott, and me, and Mark with the steering committee, were really there to support these efforts. So that was our focus, so that we had these 6-point attack on problems. And the things that were accomplished is utilities continued to document their is business processes, design to be processes. So that was going on. Some utilities like DC Water had internal training on methods and tools that they conducted, and about 100 people were engaged. We also had some utilities who took advantage of WEF training for business process model and notation, BPMN. Mike Barnett was the one who provided that training. There has been a lot of sharing of experience and discussions within each initiative. And then we also started sharing between initiatives. So for example, in one of our last, most recent meetings of energy management, it was asset management people who came in and made the presentation. There are some business processes that people on the energy management team selected. They actually, which was condition assessment for pumps, which was actually of interest to asset management as well, and potentially to the CIP team as well. So this kind of sharing between initiatives is something that we're really going to amp up in year 2. There's also been communication with the world beyond WISE. We had 4 WEF webcasts that have been organized. We had January, February, March, and April. They were well attended by different utilities and other people. And utility partners have presented at conferences: Charlie Stephen, Dan Ott, Mark Pauling, Mike Stahl. So we've been trying to get the word out. And the last important point is that we completed the version 1.0 for assessment tools for the people side, workforce and organizational culture, tier 1 and tier 2. So we have a tool in place for business process characteristics, for technology and data analytics, and for change management. So these are the things that we've done in year 1. Now, our components of the work for year 2 is to start active learning by actively doing things, implementing these tools. So we're going to focus on the left side on these tools and a capability assessments for all these different components, and actually implement them for specific business processes. We're going to continue with these 2 boxes, analyzing as is and to be. We already have from previous years 18 case studies. We're looking forward to have more, but we also want to focus more on actually implementing these improvements and providing documentation, and guidelines and help to folks to actually implement improvements. So I'm going to stop here and see if there are any questions so far. Okay, so let me see. So yes.
Joe, it's Mike. Just a real quick question. If you go back to the last slide, and I may have missed it, you may have said something, but you are kind of doing, peer-to-peer type of meetings lately. Are you planning to do some implementation that way as well? Elements of peer one-on-one kind of engagements there as well?
Well, that's an excellent point. We really are going to ramp up the interaction between the program team and each individual utility to work with them specifically on the problems that they're facing, so they can work together. And that knowledge that's gained from these implementations will be then shared with others. So that's one thing. The second is, we have noticed that people are so busy. They have so many things going on. We want to optimize the number of meetings and the topics of meetings so they always are most concentrated and deliver most value. So we're going to change the schedule for all the meetings and revisit how they're done, so that that's one of the things that we're going to go through the Mentimeter exercise to get some input to make sure that what we do next year is the best fit for next year. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. So in year 2, as I said, we're going to look at these tangible and practical improvements. We think that these types of gains in each utility are going to be the strongest case for sustaining and increasing this program. When Patrick can say, this is what we've done, we're managing gas cylinders better than we did before, that is the most powerful thing we can do. Or if at MCES they say, these are the things we looked at organizational culture. These are improvements that we've made. This is what we really want to do. On the list, so this red, year 2, it's not that we're going to ignore these first things, but we want to really make sure that there are some tangible short-term improvements in each utility. These are some of the business processes that have been selected already. People are talking about additional ones. Metro Vancouver has already started, but so I'm going to be updating this. But these are just some example of specific things that utilities are going to look at. So I think it'll be interesting for everybody to see, what is Louisville doing about improving their warehouse management? What is Baltimore doing about their procurement process? What is Kansas City doing? So we want to have a sort of learning by doing. So the deliverables expected from year 2 are improvement of assessment tools, because when you use them, you're going to get back to us and say, well, this thing worked, this thing didn't work so well. So we're going to be making changes. We're working already on training materials and supporting documentation for using these tools. So that will be an improvement. And we're going to have the case studies. So I think that'll be just really powerful deliverables. And the case studies are going to document how people assess their capabilities maturity. Excuse me. I don't have water here. My glass is empty. How they did the assessments, identified areas for improvements, designed, planned, and executed. And we're looking for, to Mike's point, increased collaboration across different areas and initiatives. And I want to say that especially this will apply to technology and data analytics, because we want to make sure that technology is considered within each of these improvement methods. So one of the dangers is to have technology as a sort of completely separate thing, because in our mind, it has to always be connected with some tangible improvement. And we also want to look at some things such as integration of IT systems that would help all of the different improvement processes. So what we're going to work on, the program team, is to talk to each organization and say, what do you want to be the focus for you? And then look at roles and responsibilities, put together teams that are specific for different utilities, and then build a schedule for activities, meetings, and so forth, so that we have it's a little scary for us. We'll have, 15 or 18 or whatever parallel projects going on, but we think that this is the best way to make tangible improvements. So that was a quick summary, and I'm going to stop talking and see if there are any questions.
I have a statement,
Okay.
really a question. What I have found when I go into these meetings, there's 8-10 people in there and they're working on different things and blah 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 blah, and everything seems to be okay and everybody shakes their head and yes yes yes. When we hang up from the meeting, we really don't know what is taking place, right?
Okay.
So what transformation is trying to do now is everything on a PDCA, plan, do, check, act. And then when we get to a certain point of the meeting of whatever the subject is, who's ever on the PDCA, that person reports out. So if we come
Okay.
to a certain project and we get to wastewater or GLWA and it says gas cylinders, I would take the floor and report out what we're doing, where we're at, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That way everybody knows, and it holds people a little bit more accountable to do a little bit, because, oh God, I got to report out in this meeting.
Yeah.
Projects don't just sit, is what I'm trying to say. So I just wanted to throw that out there, and
I think that's an excellent idea, and we can. I wrote this. So our concept was that we would have that the meetings that we would have would be meetings where people report on their progress, but the program team work with them individually, and we'll have to adjust how many reports we can have within an hour, which is about the limit of so we may, and how often do we hold them, because what's the Goldilocks kind of thing,
right.
that,
As you go down the list and you report out, if there's 10 people and you got to 6,
yeah.
next meeting you just start on 7 and you just go back up to 1, right?
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's just my opinion.
Yeah. Well, that's we'll
not that I want to report anything out. I'm giving a suggestion that it holds people a little bit more accountable. We have found the more we're doing that, the more the people feel like, hey, I'm engaged, I got to do this, and I got to report out on Wednesday. What the heck are we doing here, right? So
I apologize for the sore throat. Yes, Scott.
Well, no, I was just wondering, Cello, if now was a good time to, throw in some additional material. I really appreciate, Patrick, the comment on accountability and accountability on sharing. What we have are 6 teams, and we'll have even more teams. And what we're, in terms of coordinating those agendas, so we're not reporting the same things out to, the people who are, it's where it would be redundant, that we'll need to work with that. But one thing we've found is that these 6 teams have gone off and done their own, like in this team, they've done the people assessment. And we have change management who's done the readiness assessment, and we have energy who's done theirs. But what we're finding is we identify what is it, like Patrick with gas cylinders, that really all these tools that we have are useful. So part of the dialogue that we're going to be having on a utility by utility basis with each utility is how you want to apply these different tools and make sure that you're in a position to do that. So anyway, just wanted to make that point. And this, what Cello described, is a real good baseline. What I'm also going to say, maybe just focusing a little on the people team for a minute. And and Kesra, you have your hand up. So if you want to go ahead, and Mark does too, if you want to go ahead and interject at this point before I go on to say what probably Lisa would say, then you go ahead.
I really like the idea of cross collaboration between teams and then reporting out. I was just wondering if we could have maybe an annual, like right now would have been the whole year's done, right?
Right.
If we had an annual meeting of all the teams coming together and then each team presenting, maybe 5 minute or whatever, depending on how many teams we have within an hour or so of what they've accomplished. Because I think that that way you kind of look at, so if I was doing it for our team, for example, it gives me a time to reflect on what we've done, what, take pride in what we've done, but at the same time, you're letting everybody know what you've accomplished, which then they can maybe say, hey, can you do this for us? Or we need this or whatever. Yeah, I think it kind of having that annual meeting of all the teams together would be valuable.
Cello, you may want to talk, and Mark too, about, we were going to do that in Kansas City, actually, right? And so we're having a, we're going to try to do exactly what you're saying, but and it'll also, we're really looking for increased participation within each utility, and it would give, these real active members an idea of what else is going on and other people in their organizations that might want to participate in some of these different efforts too. Mark?
Patrick, you look like you wanted to say something to add to that. No? So I was going to build on Patrick's idea, and I wonder if there's some things that we could do as a program team, which would help folks overcome barriers to implementing in their organization. So I think sometimes people, this has been true for me, they just didn't know how to activate maybe their internal folks and activate some internal resources. And I wonder if there's something like, in particular, the people team or the change team might offer to folks to help them kind of overcome some of that initial inertia, because there's a lot of us where there's only one person from that utility who's participating. And so maybe if we could offer some ideas about how that, how you can overcome that internal, I don't want to say it's resistance, but maybe it's just they're not aware, or it's just, it's like everyone on this team, they're super busy. How do you get people to, think that this is important? Because obviously we all think it is. So that is a question I'll throw out there for the group in terms of what else could we do, which might offer you some tools so that we can be in that acting stage, right? The plan, do, I should say the do stage, right?
Right. Plan, do, check, act. Can I comment on that if I can?
Sure.
When I started at GLWA, transformation was, a baby group, and everybody looked at it's like, it's a transformation group, right? They don't do nothing. What we had to do, and it was tough at the beginning, we had to set up a project, a big project. We picked Pump Station 1 at Wastewater, and we performed all the 5S activities. We did structure on the SOPs, we did audit process, we did standardization, right? We did all the steps in 5S. And when we were done, everyone at Wastewater or in the company had a place to go to see the benefits. Because that's what people ask all the time. Well, what's in it for me? If there's nothing in it for me, I'm not doing it. Right? So we gave them a place to go. And then we turned around and did the wastewater lab and got that running. I mean, it runs like you wouldn't believe, and it looks like a museum. It looks beautiful. Everybody that comes over says, this is exactly what we want. We want this. So what has happened in the past 2 or 3 years is we've got buy-in from the upper management, from the team players, by actually seeing the benefits to what a process improvement will do, right? So it's just my thought, my opinion, pick something, try to make it better, and then, forecast it, put it out there, show everybody all the improvement, look what happened, and look how much better this is running, and then everybody will want to get involved in it. Everybody wants to join success, right? So.
Yeah, Patrick, I think that's a great idea, because I do know Pump Station 1 has become kind of like that model. Right. But to Mark's point is, how do we get that first project, right? That's we're going to showcase. I know Deborah went through a lot of hoops. She because she was hired in by Nikki, she had the chief's ears, right? So she met with chiefs, and Naveed bought into this pump station one and said, yeah, okay, let's do this. So that first process, so that first project that we can do, how do we infiltrate an organization to do that? I think that's, Mark, where you're coming from, right?
Yep.
But I agree. If we can do what Patrick is saying, do that one, it'd be great. But how do we get that first one?
Right. It was, even though we had the ear of Nikki and Naveed and people like that, Majid, it was still tough.
It was still hard. It was tough.
It was not easy.
I know, Deborah, and you guys, I mean, you guys really had to struggle to get that time commitment, and that, because again, they couldn't see the rewards until they see something. Now it's different. Now you got something to showcase that'll help.
Right. And I'm just putting this out there. At this point, we've got 4 or 5 people in our transformation team. And what has happened is everybody in the companies, come over here, help me here, do this, help. We've got so many projects at this point, we can't do them all. So
that's exactly what we need to do on WISE. That's exactly what we need to do on WISE. So that's what we want to do in year 2. We want to get that first project. Now, how to create that first project? We're here. We created some artifacts. We have materials, and we have a 2-page document. They asked for a page. Okay, it's 2.5 pages that kind of explains the benefit or WISE that people can use to convince their management. We have a longer annual report that Mark Pauling has prepared. We have a book that just came out about the WISE methodology. It's co-published by the WEF and IWA. So we've got all sorts of from 2 pages to a lot of pages on things, but and the program team will do everything we can to help win that, to help get that first project, apply it, and win it. And that's exactly, this pump station 1 is exactly the kind of things we need to do to validate the and enhance the the WISE program and make it useful for everybody.
If you guys want to use something like that as an example, I got pictures before and after, and it was a disaster before. You couldn't even walk in the area, and now it looks like a showcase.
So what we're going to do, Patrick, on the first meeting in year 2, if you wouldn't mind, to making a presentation and just making that exact point that you and Kaser were making right now, excuse me, that's what it takes to get things, to plant the tree.
Yeah,
that's what it takes.
I can do that if you want me to. I don't have a problem.
I'm sorry?
I can do that if you want me to.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it would benefit everybody, because even the people on the team who haven't done stuff like this before it would click. So let me just note.
That's another reason I say, if as a group we go into this and we, even if you do every other week or every week and we report out for 5 or 10 minutes, when people start talking about what their project is and what they did about it, and the things that they fought and stuff like that, I learned from that, right?
Yes.
So I think that's important. I also think, and this is just my point of view, I look at that list that you have with all the companies or whatever, and then what their tasks are.
Yeah.
Like you have GLWA and then you have gas cylinders. Nobody in this meeting knows where I'm at with gas cylinders.
Exactly.
So I was about to ask, which team are you on, Patrick?
Our team.
No, I meant like which of the is the gas cylinders, is that falling under asset management? Is that under?
No, it's fallen under wastewater right now.
No, I meant on the WISE. The WISE team.
We just put it on there as, the gas cylinder project because I was working on it through wastewater. I don't know where it actually falls. What I can tell you is that we had a ton of cost because of cylinders that were left all over the place, and they didn't want them back. And then we had to sell the ones that we had that were empty, just sitting around. We had like, you know, and I don't mean to be facetious, but hundreds of thousands of dollars in cylinders. We've cleaned all that up throughout the company, and we think we've got a good control over it now. So we should be saving a ton of money.
So Kesra, we will not be really bound by the like which initiative this is, because some of these fixes, you know, maybe gas cylinder, no, but some of these things that people want to fix, like procurement, may include different components, right, such as, you know, somebody may do people. Let me just flash something. And Mark, your hand is up. Do you want to comment?
Well, I was going to say, and I think Patrick would have included this, but what would really be, I think, useful for a lot of folks. So to me, we have this amazing library of case studies which show a utility, why they might want to become involved in WISE. And I think then the next part, which you had to overcome, I'm certain, is how did you overcome that internal resistance for the first project, right? So I'll tell you how I did it. And I don't know, maybe I should not be proud of this, but we had a maintenance shop, and we'd had some troubles with some things because we didn't do some maintenance right. I went into the shop. There's a place for all of the straps. There's a pegboard for them, and there's, you know, it should be nicely organized. There wasn't a single strap on a pegboard. They were all laying on a bench in front of it. And I turned to the maintenance supervisor and I said, I bet your shop at home doesn't look like this. And he was like, oh, it's like, yeah, I get it. So there I used a little bit of, you know, come on, you wouldn't accept this at your house. Why are you accepting this in your shop, right? In the shop that we need to maintain our equipment. So, but if you could talk about, how did you get that first project? I mean, was there a push from management? Did that help it? You know, so, or maybe was it a combination of things? So I think so. Overcoming that internal resistance is going to be key for folks. You know, how do I get that first group to take the people survey, right? How do I get them to do the org culture survey? What, you know, obviously you want the with them, what's in it for them. And, but yeah, anyway, that's what I wanted to add. Thank you.
I hate to say this because within our training, we're told 100% get the people involved, right? Mm-hmm. Make sure you engage the people. That first project, we didn't engage too many GLWA people. We contracted Lakeshore. We painted everything through them. We tried to give them what I call a mock-up, something to look at. Yeah. Right. So we picked what we thought would be the most impact, which was Pump Station 1, because it's right outside the office door. It's a huge area. It took us about a year and a couple months. And when we finished it, it's just absolutely amazing to see the result. You know, I want to give this real quick comment too, and I don't mean to overextend the meeting or anything, but I had an employee there that fought us all the way when we were doing it. And we got done and they got used to it a little bit. And then they moved this employee to Pump Station 2. And Pump Station 2 is the way Pump Station 1 used to be. So I'm at MOB, which is our corporate office, and I'm in a meeting and my phone keeps ringing and ringing and ringing. So I walk out into the hallway and I'm like, what's going on? I thought something was wrong. The employee said to me, why did they put me in Pump Station 2? I need to get out of here. This is so gross. I won't even sit down. And when I hung up the phone, I thought to myself, okay, she gets it. She sees it now, right? Because now she's being told to work in it again. And she sees the cleanliness, she sees the organization. So that kind of stuff, when it takes place, to me is important, that employees or team members get it.
Yeah, thank you.
So to answer Kesra's question about what team is Patrick on, Patrick's on the WISE team, and we're not going to look at this strict separation that we used to have. Are you on team people? These were just things to do the components, you know, but now let's apply a combination of these things: process improvement, technology, people, change management, these four things. So we had to get people trained on this blue box. We had to train them to even document the process, to analyze it and so forth. And they've been doing that and improving. But right now, they're going to be on the team, the way we see it, on team improvement management gas cylinders that works with WISE. And
That's what
yeah.
that's what I was trying to kind of figure out. Are we kind of moving away from our original team structure into sort of a new, because we've developed what we could develop. Now we're really trying to put it into practice, right?
Yeah, so now the new teams are going to be what, you know, the Kansas City team for water main replacement, as-built submittal and approval process. That's like way too long, this name. So that's going to be their team, and it may include looking at people. It may include looking at energy management, or you know, it is within that scope. So we think that this is a shorter and more sustainable way to improvement than to keep looking at different aspects and then leaving it up to people to pull all this together. And the extremely important part of that is to have tangible, successful stories like Patrick has. So when Patrick does his story, it'll be inspirational and aspirational, because people will then say, okay, well, Patrick had to deal with all this other stuff, and he had to find a way how to do it within his organization, which may be completely different than, you know, Portland Water. But these are the tools that we have at our disposal. And when Patrick has his stories, they'll say, okay, this is what the new teams are all about. This is what the new teams need to accomplish. And then, you know, on that team, there may be somebody like Alice. She is an engineer, but her primary interest is in organizational culture and getting. So it's great to have Alice on board. It's great to have somebody who's a technology person on board. It's great, you know, so you look at these components and you say, you know, these 4 components, and you say, well, we should probably document this process. We should probably have somebody to look at what the technology we're using. And then there's an internal team in each utility that actually makes all this happen. So is that helpful at all, Kesra?
Yep, no, absolutely.
Does it get you excited to get re-engaged?
Yeah, it does. It does.
Thank you. You know, Lisa just joined, but and I do have.
Yeah, maybe just you know, I don't have to speak for Lisa. We've had a real good discussion, Lisa, and we've talked about that we have these tools developed, and we're identifying a number of different improvement areas in the utilities to apply, where we can apply these tools. And I know there's, you know, a number of them at MCES that are beginning to get some traction, and there's going to be some experience. And I think what Lisa had done, even though we're talking about kind of doing some cross-team kind of work, the question is there any sort of residual work that we want to do with the people team, anticipating the kinds of issues that we have in, let's say, identifying and implementing improvements, or dealing with, and we've talked about it on this call, Patrick, you talked about it, where we're dealing with moving people's cheese, changing their, you know, kind of sense of their own purpose, and that kind of thing, and kind of working together, you know, in a more engaged way. So I don't know if you wanted to comment on that, Lisa, and then we need to get to Mentimeter here. It won't take too long to do it, but we want to get to, you know, deal with, you know, get some feedback on what people are looking for next year, you know, based on the discussion that we've had. So Lisa?
Really quickly, I want to apologize for being late.
We explained for you, yeah.
Dealing with a really fun issue with the governor's office, because our university is going to have students returning to school, and we've had some volatile releases into the system near the U, and even had sewer caps blow off about a month ago. And we think we're in a good place, but they're really worried about having to evacuate when students are moving in. So trying to allay the fears and let folks know we're on top of it. But what's on my mind, I think, is that, well, we've been working on systems thinking as leaders and going down that journey. What I'm learning through those experiences that oftentimes people need that experience or to see something that others have done in order to apply it back or to influence the leaders and thinking in their own organization. So I really feel there's a lot of value in us continuing to follow up on the pilots or the use of this system and sharing with each other what benefits and positive outcomes we've had, so that other leaders who might not yet be ready to get on board or are thinking still in an old way when preventing the new from happening, that we can help each other bring that impact into our organizations through that sharing.
Lisa, you weren't in the meeting, but you must have had an earpiece, because that's
yeah.
exactly what we were
I'm
talking
wondering
about.
if she hacked into our meeting before.
I
So
think
that's
it's a
good.
sign that we've worked together and we are using this tool and believe in it, and, you know, trying to figure out how do we build the traction for more success with this, because it's needed.
Yep, that's good. You're thinking exactly like what we were talking about. So that's good.
Good.
So the Mentimeter, in the chat line, there's a link. If you want to use your phone, you can just look at the QR code that's on the screen to get access to it. So, so either use, if you want to do it on your computer, go to the chat line. Okay, so you said BRB. I don't know what BRB means.
Be right back.
I'll be right back. Okay. Apparently, I'm too old to understand this grammar.
Yeah, I still got kids that tell me all this stuff.
Your kids tell you. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Just speak up if you're having trouble getting in.
I'm not seeing the link.
Okay.
In chat. It's in chat.
It's in the chat. If you go to the chat.
So it doesn't show up for people who joined after it was put in.
Oh,
so you might
that's
have to
correct.
Put it in again for
that's
Lisa.
correct. That's correct.
You'll want to see it. Can you just send the link to her?
Yeah, it's in the chat. Yeah, I did it now.
There it is.
Alice is
I've
correct.
got it.
Yeah. Okay. So Kaser's back. You can either join by phone by using the QR code, or you can use the link on your computer that's in the chat line. So let me know when I can take the QR code off. Does anybody still need the QR code?
No.
No. Mark, would you mind joining also, because we only have 3 people so far. So I can't do it. But
for people having trouble,
No, I didn't have any problems.
okay,
Yeah.
so we have 4 now. One, 2. Okay, so Mike Sweeney, you're able to come in? We have 5. Anybody has trouble?
I'm
coming
in. I'm in now.
Okay, so please raise your hand if you're having trouble. So before I start moving through the slides, that we know that we got 6 now. I think that's good. So we're going to go to the next slide. And this is just, if you can just put in, free, just type in comments in terms of what you think has worked well. And during the first year of WISE, just a couple of comments that would help us understand, what we should stick to. Press C. Why is it? Okay. Why? And understand why the voting was closed. Can you see that? Oh, okay. I can see that. Mentimeter sometimes is a little temperamental. So we'll give it a couple of minutes and then move to the next one. Okay. Good. Excellent. So we're actually more interested in learning the next thing, which is what has not worked well. This will be really informative for us in terms of what we need to get fixed. I'm just going to walk away for a second to get a glass of water so I can stop coughing here. Be right back.
Usually Cello has a glass half full there, so. Yeah.
Hey, Scott, when I look at it, it's half empty.
Yeah, well, his was empty today. I was going to make the comment earlier, and he never has a glass half empty. It's always half full.
That's right.
It's very helpful, very helpful. That's very, very helpful. That's very helpful. This is so helpful because we're going to take each one of these comments and say, okay, how are we going to address this in year 2? Okay. Let me know, Scott, when you think that I should.
Yeah, I think we better
Okay.
keep moving. There's.
Okay. So what would you like to see more of in year 2? And then just a few, whatever comes to mind first, and then it'll be the one that says, what would you like to see less of that will follow? Yes, yeah. Yes, that's very good. Give me just a second. Hello? Okay, so you think we move forward?
Yeah, no, that's
Scott,
good.
okay. And there's only a couple more questions, so. Okay, very good point. What do you think, Scott? We have
Yeah,
3 minutes
I
left.
think that they were capturing their comments and what they'd like to see more of rather than less
Okay,
of,
okay.
you know.
So
Yeah.
this is one that will be very helpful. What type of support or training or documentation from the program team will be valuable for you when you go forward with the pilot improvements? What kind of, you know, support for preliminary planning and chartering and so forth, assessment of a workforce or culture or process or change management, improvement planning and implementation, you know, what would be like not very helpful so that we can see how to focus our support and stuff like that. Okay, very, very good, very good. This we would like to get everybody's input. Okay, that's very helpful. maybe just one more, and then we'll go to the next one. Okay, can we get that one more, last one? Okay, well, we'll, in the interest of time, and we're at 29. And just very quickly, I think this is the last slide, just to see where the gaps are as far as you see the capabilities and maturity of your organizations, just your organization in general, maybe not just your specific team, but which kind of things are, you know, just your sense for the maturity level so that we can know which gaps need to be closed.
I'm gonna have to hop. I got another one of those meetings that I don't have an option to not show up on time. Thanks,
Okay.
everyone.
Thanks, Lisa.
Okay, thanks.
Bye-bye.
Okay, only a couple left, and then we're gonna wrap it up. Okay, very helpful. Okay, so since Lisa's gone, we'll go. I think this is, now these are just your thoughts, but how about this? Not, if you have any thoughts on this, now we'll just give it like a minute, but then you can also email me. If you just have something quick, the first thing that comes to mind. I'm cognizant of, I'm aware of not keeping people here for too long. And yeah, good. Just have to go. Thanks. Okay, so I guess people have to go, and we'll just kind of close things up. This has been extremely useful, and let's go back and see if people have any final comments before we close up.
Hey, Cello, I was just wondering if we can use that